Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that still teaching this truth, and much peace, love, and salutations to the elect, beginning with the 144,000 all the way down to the large multitude that believes and who the Lord will deliver these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamah from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back again with another quick lesson. And Lord willing, this lesson will be edifying and to the point. And I don't expect this lesson to be too long, but I just find it ironic how Donald J. Trump, all right, is going to be hosting a UFC event at the White House. All right, and he's going to be doing this supposedly next year. And you have all these fighters like John Jones, who he's pretty much in the drug test bracket, as well as like Conor McGregor, because these are individuals who supposedly retired, but now they're coming out of retirement to host this event, which is going to mark America's 250th year in power, which is the semi-quincentennial. All right, which pretty much that's the quincentennial is a half of 500. Which is a quincentennial is 500, but a semi-quincentennial is 250. All right, and supposedly there's supposed to be all these events that are going to be taking place during. I want to say it's like a week long event, where particular events are going to be going down. But anyways, Donald J. Trump is talking about having a UFC event held at the White House. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and go here real quick. And this is just the AI overview. All right, it says Donald Trump plans to host a UFC championship fight at the White House in 2026 as part of the country's 250th birthday celebrations. And there's really no nation, all right, that's lasted over 250 years. Okay, now who knows if you're gonna make it to 2026? But if we are here in 2026, that's going to be a pivotal moment. You see, it says the event is planned to be held on the South Lawn, according to Yahoo Sports, and is expected to be a large-scale event, potentially accommodating 20,000 to 25,000 people. Okay, now once again, this is in 2026, so it's still yet to be seen if we make it there. But this is a part of Esau's mindset. You know what I'm saying? The scripture says that his inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. All right, it says UFC CEO Dana White is reportedly organizing the event and has confirmed that his team is working with the White House staff on logistics and design plans. The planned event is described by White as a pay-per-view card, with the goal of putting together the best card we could possibly put together. And like I said, you have the likes of these particular individuals like John Jones, Conor McGregor, pretty much, top UFC names that are going to be at this event at the White House. Now, what I did was I went to ChatGPT and typed in, I said, Donald Trump is looking to host a UFC event at the White House. Would this be something that Nero, one of the ancient Caesars, would do as well? Right? And it says, yes, the idea of Donald Trump hosting a UFC event at the White House does bear similarities to what Emperor Nero might have done, at least in spirit. Because, beginning with the apostles on down, all right, we believe through the spirit that Donald J. Trump is Nero coming back. Okay, and we, like I said, beginning with the apostles, we have been saying this time and time again, that this is Nero coming back in the spirit. Remember, the scripture says that there's no new thing under the sun. Okay, that which has been, that which is now hath already been. Okay, so these ancient Caesars and these ancient emperors and military generals, musicians, sports figures, gladiators, they all come back. Just as the scripture says, the spirit of the prophets are subject to the prophets. People come back in their life. It says, though adapted to their respective times. Here's a breakdown of how the comparison holds up. Nero, the showman emperor. Public spectacles. Nero was infamous for hosting grand public entertainments, including gladiator fights, theatrical performances, and chariot races. He even participated on stage himself, unheard of for an emperor. And it actually is crazy because now that it's coming back into my mind, I had a dream. I want to say it was like last week. It might have been last week. Wow, this is crazy. It's actually coming back to my mind. I had a dream last week, and in my dream it was Donald Trump, and he was on stage dancing, but he had like an ancient Roman, like he had like ancient Roman clothing on, like he had like a gold crown on his head, and he was dancing like he was but he had on like the ancient clothing on, you know. And it looked weird, like it was real strange. I ain't gonna lie, it was weird. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm reading this, it's like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like that dream I had, the Lord brought it back to my remembrance just now. You know? So we believe that this is Nero coming back. It says self-promotion. Nero craved admiration and attention, just as Donald J. Trump does. He used public events to elevate his image, often blending politics, spectacle, and entertainment. Blurring boundaries, Nero often broke traditional Roman decorum, inserting himself into roles like actor or musician, considering beneath an emperor. And you have Donald J. Trump going to UFC fights, you know, and that's not something that you really see an active president, I'd rather say, do. You know, hosting events at imperial properties wasn't unusual for him. Populist appeal. By putting on extravagant games and shows, Nero sought favor with the masses, even while elites were horrified. You see that? And what was one thing that Donald J. Trump supposedly was going to do? He was going to, quote unquote, I'm going to take down the deep state. We're going to break them down. Okay? You know? We're going to break down the deep state. You know, and everybody, you know, what's his name? Alex Jones, you know, and these other individuals. Donald J. Trump's going to take down the deep state. We believe this, you know. And this is like now you look at him, and it's clearly tied in and juiced in, right? It says Trump, the modern spectacle, entertainment politics. It says Trump, much like Nero, blurs the lines between politics and entertainment. His presidency included WWE ties, celebrity events, and now potentially UFC at the White House. An unprecedented move. You see that? This is not a normal, common move that an active president of the United States would do. Okay, brand power says Trump has always used events to enhance his personal brand and identity. UFC being a rough, high-energy sport fits with the populist and masculine image he cultivates. And remember, there's something that Rome also had a saying, you know, of bread and circuses. And what do bread and circuses do? Bread and circuses were used, you know, to keep the masses completely, pretty much to keep them asleep. You know, to keep them docile to particular deals and things of that nature that was happening behind the scenes. You know, some of those deals and things of that nature are what? More draconian laws coming down the pipe. You know, more AI surveillance taking place, things of that nature. It says anti-elite signaling. It says hosting a UFC event in a traditionally dignified space like the White House can be seen as a form of anti-establishment theater, which we know that Donald J. Trump is juiced in. We know that he's taking orders, right? Something Nero also engaged in when he performed for the plebeians, which the plebeians were pretty much the I want to say the plebeians were the like the Republicans of today, and then the patricians were the Democrats. All right. It says, so a conclusion, it says, yes, if Nero were alive today, which he is, that's Donald J. Trump coming back in the spirit, hosting a UFC like event at his palace, the Domus Aurea, would be right up his alley. Both Nero and Trump use spectacle, right? Use spectacle, controversy, and popular entertainment to craft public image and power. In short, Trump equal Trump equal UFC at White House is very much a modern day echo of Nero equaling gladiator games at Imperial Palace. It's a vivid example of bread and circuses for a new age. Boom, there it is right there. A vivid example of bread and circuses for a new age. Okay? So this is definitely in the spirit. All right? This is definitely Nero coming back into power all over again. And the likes and the guise of Donald Trump. This is Nero coming back in the reincarnation, man, whether you believe it or not. Okay? And the scripture said, I'm driving right now, you know, but the scripture says, you know, that a spiritual man, pretty much, if you're spiritual, you're going to discern spiritual things. And 1 Corinthians, the second chapter. You see? But hey, with that, I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Hakudash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, great millstone that taught us his truth, and that's what teaching is truth. Much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, I say shalom.